Hey, howdy ho.
Back to another video. Today,
Hey, nice Back to the Future map.
ranking every single.
Hey, with Greg, let's go.
Treyarch Zombies map.
Treyarch rankings.
To best. I would do not.
Is he including MW3?
Enough. Unfortunately, I have not.
I don't
Therefore,
know.
I don't have a valid opinion. Now, of course, I've done this several times throughout the years, updating it as.
Chat, genuine question. Out of the entire Zombies community, who do you think has the best map ranking tier list? Which YouTuber do you have the best map ranking tier list?
I go. Cold War has since released,
Let me know.
thus it will be included. I'm also taking
I have
an
the volume
entirely
up
different
max,
approach
chat.
to making this list. It will be episode 1 of an updated, ongoing ranking series. Drop whatever ideas you have for me
Here,
in
let
the
me turn it up
comments
even more.
below. Bosses, characters, wonder weapons, etc. This was an absolute behemoth of a task. There are so many maps, they're so different, and my opinion is
Let's see it.
constantly
Oh, whoops.
changing. Where do you even begin with something like this? With a tier list. It's much easier to
there we go.
categorize these maps and then
The
break
tier
down the
list.
specific
Woo!
order. So, if you would like to see exactly how I made this list, the behind the scenes,
It's on a
if you
second
were to
channel.
Check out the link
Yes,
in the description.
I
Go
saw
over to
that.
the second channel, Tim Talks, and watch me make the tier list. I shall spare you the 10-minute drawn-out preface of how this all works and just explain
Aw,
it as I
chat,
go.
we
So,
know what's
sit
going
back,
on.
Get comfortable.
We know
grab
what's
your
going on.
bev or snack
Wait,
of
you think
choice,
Chaos X Silencer has the best tier list?
and as the infamous Lil Pump once said, Eskedit. Eskedit spaghetti.
frick
Starting
is wrong
at
with you?
the very bottom, the worst captive map are what I consider to be stars.
This must be Busty, bro, because it made me sneeze, bro.
Confined survival maps that, while aren't
Oh my
necessarily
gosh.
poorly designed, have so little to offer that every expansive, even if poorly designed map surpasses. They're the worst maps by default due to insufficient.
Honestly, I agree that Bus Depot is probably the worst Treyarch map. Wait, is he including Vanguard? I don't see Vanguard, so I'm assuming he's not including Vanguard or Modern Warfare 3.
These maps are
So this is no
unreasonably
Vanguard,
challenging.
no
They push
MW3.
you to the absolute brink. The only reason you'd ever play
Why are you
them
looking at the end for Vanguard? Good question.
is to see how far you can get
Good question.
with next to nothing. So
Yeah, why would
these
it be
are gonna
there?
Pretty quick. Number 36, the worst map ever. By default, again, it did not stand a chance to begin with. It is Bus Depot.
Chat, I agree with this. I agree with this. One in the chat if you agree with this. Like, if we talk strictly World at War to BO4 or to Cold War, I do think Bus Depot is the worst map.
Worst part.
I
of
agree. This map sucks. There's nothing in here.
worst designed map ever.
You got freaking
Granted,
lava.
There is
Frick, who
absolutely
frick's
nothing
playing
on
this
this map other than a ray gun. Enough said. Just a smidge above that, number
Yeah.
35, we have Nocturne Toe.
I think that's fair.
Yes. The
Yeah.
classic, iconic.
Listen, I don't like when people put Noct at the very bottom, but like, I mean, it hurts. It's fair, but it hurts. I agree.
nostalgic Nocturne Toe.
It's fair, but it
there are
hurts.
multiple versions. We are, let me just say before we continue on with this, only focusing on
The originals.
The original.
Yes, that's fine.
Let me repeat
Yeah.
that. And for all
That's
maps,
fine.
this is also applicable.
Yeah, because I like BL3 and BL1 Noct.
To going forward.
But-
we are only focusing on the
And Die
original
Maschine.
version. The remasters
Die
are
Maschine.
a bonus, but it's not what we're focusing
Is that
on.
Die
And to
Maschine?
clarify, a remaster is a copy and paste within a new engine. The
Bro, it's Die
BL1 and Zombies
Maschine.
Chronicles remasters of Nocturne.
It's hard to put it so low
won't be
because it's where it
considered.
started.
On the other
Yeah,
hand,
it's true.
Cold War's Die Maschine is what I would consider a reimagined.
Yeah,
version of
true. It
Nocturne,
doesn't count.
taking-
It doesn't count.
taking
I agree.
inspiration
Doesn't
from the
count.
original, but ultimately
Doesn't
becoming
count.
its own unique identity.
Yep.
You will see that later on in the list. It's its own map, but a remaster is not. Also,
Yep,
this
that's
list
fair.
is pure objectivity. Any personal bias whatsoever I have for any map will be completely
Yeah, he just said it's 100% factual.
disregarded. There will
This
be
is a
no
100%
nostalgia
factual
bonus.
list.
There will be no preferential treatment
Yeah,
of any
no
map.
preferential
we are
treatment.
purely
Factual.
analyzing the
No
value
opinions.
of the original form of these
Only
maps.
facts.
And Nocturne Toe, despite being the very first, despite being the foundation of the mode, and
Bro, I saw Krupp spending 100 hours on this map getting to like round 3,000, so
Slack
I don't even
for
want to hear
such
it.
is barren. There is
Yep.
absolutely
I don't even wanna hear
nothing,
it.
of course, other than a ray gun. It does surpass Bus Depot because there's at least an ounce of significance in the story, but as far as the gameplay is concerned, there just isn't enough. You play it for that
It's true.
bone-chilling, challenging nostalgia boner, but beyond that,
Genuine question, lads. When was the last time you played World at War Zombies?
compared to every other
I don't
map
even know
ever
one.
with bare minimum resources, there just isn't a legitimate enough reason to play. Sadly.
Honestly, I don't think I'd play World at War Zombies in like 5 years. I agree.
Number 34, Farm. It
True.
places above the other two simply
I
with
think
the
that's fair.
addition of perks.
That's fair.
Otherwise, it's more of the
caca.
same. And number
Yeah.
33, you may be sadly surprised to hear,
Verrucked.
is Verrucked.
Dang.
It does have perks and it added traps, but unfortunately, it still does not have Pack-a-Punch
I mean,
or
these are all fair picks. Just Verrucked so low, man.
a high-end
Sheesh.
wonder weapon beyond the ray
Justice
gun,
for my
or
World at
ideal
War maps.
spacing for that matter. There really isn't a place to be. There's nowhere to train. You're constantly looping the map, slowly chipping away at it all. It's very overwhelming, very suffocating. This map to me
But it is true. I don't remember the last time I played World at War Verrucked. I do think Verrucked on BO3 is not bad, though.
Nocturne Toten's slightly more capable older brother.
It's true.
It's just not very different,
That's
though.
a great way of putting it.
Now we're going to talk about actively bad maps.
No,
More bad
can't be putting
than
town in
good.
this.
Their aspiration gave
Can't
them
be
great
putting town in
potential,
this.
but due to mechanical limitations and
Not
poor
town.
execution became
Town's
some of the
sick.
worst designed maps ever. They have overwhelming issues. They do surpass the previous maps by pure virtue of having bare essentials,
Having
not
something.
being starved of
Having
resources.
anything.
They did try to be expansive and innovative, but ultimately
No,
failed
don't put
miserably.
town.
But before we dive in, I should
My
tell
man
you
got
about my
sponsored?
friends over at Raycon.
Hey, W. Okay, we're gonna skip this though. Shout out to the sponsor. Okay, 32
With
transit.
this map, I'll try to keep it sweet and to the point. The main idea, of course, is a
W
bus that
sponsored.
transports you to different segments of a collectively large map.
Give Tim
Unfortunately,
his
though,
back.
it was too aspirational for its own good, and
Shout
the
out to my man
BO2
Timothy.
engine held it back severely. Starting with
Yeah,
the bus, in and of itself, it's an unreliable death trap. You're often
Chat. Transit remastered. One in chat if you're gonna be playing it.
ditched and having to run throughout the map. But don't run too fast or the engine
I'm gonna be
might
playing
crash because it can't handle it. So we're going to throw fog at you so you can't see it very well at all. We're going to throw some denizens at you to
Bro,
fuck your face.
This map without the fog is just such a better experience on PC.
and we're
It's
going to pour some lava
insane.
all over the ground so that
So
you're
much
constantly
better.
burning to death
can actually
while
see.
you walk.
Like, look at this,
Now
you
that
can't
you've
see.
made this tortuous run, you've discovered that there's too much, mostly dead space, with parts sprinkled throughout as far apart as conceivably possible, so that building the wonder weapon is far more effort than it's actually worth, given it's a heaping pile of shit
I got to round 77 on this map, almost round 100 with this caca.
that inevitably explodes after
W
about 10
gaming.
seconds of usage. And when, not if, when it explodes, you have to go back to each respective part location.
Or you just
scattered
learn how to
throughout
use
the
it
map
properly,
and
which
start
takes you
over.
900 hours.
No thanks. I'd
Yep.
probably be just as well off upgrading my gun.
Next
and
round
running
100 right
circles
here,
that
baby.
way, you tell
Yep.
yourself. So you grab your turbine, place it down at power station, and make your way over to town, only to realize that it didn't open up the door.
The worst-
So you go
the
all the way
worst
back to bus
feeling
depot,
in
grab
the
your
whole
turbine,
world.
rinse and repeat an undisclosed amount of times until it decides that it randomly wants to work, and
This map, man.
then
This
you
map is
build
horrendous.
the Pack-a-Punch
This
machine.
map
It's
is so
also
bad.
atmospherically hideous. The characters are irritating, and I'm indifferent towards the Victus segment of this
Lads, is the turbine breaking a skill issue?
story. I
No.
understand that we all have lots of
can't.
fun memories memeing on transit, but
It
this
can't
again
be a
is an
skill
objective
issue.
analysis. It is the worst.
No, it's
designed
not
map
a
ever.
skill
Perhaps if it
issue,
were on
man.
next gen,
It's a
it wouldn't be quite as
transit
limited.
issue.
Several issues would disappear, but it is what it is.
It's
And that leads
not
us
a
into number
skill
31,
issue, bro.
Die Rise, the first.
Chat, listen. It may be one of the worst maps ever, but I'm gonna make it one of the best. You dang heard me, bro.
and I would
BO3
argue
remastered.
only majorly
Come on.
vertically inclined map. Like Transit, had big dreams, but because it was on last
But they will be accomplished because we're making it on BO3.
gen,
That's what I'm saying.
because of the poor execution,
Rise good.
it ended up being a whole lot
Die
worse than it
Rise
could have
good.
been. The threat
Die
of falling
Rise
is
good.
equal to, if not greater than, the threat of the zombies themselves, which, as far as I'm concerned, takes away greatly from the fundamental core of the mode. I believe
But what if PhD?
if you're worried
But what
more
if
about
PhD?
misjumping or slipping, thus
But what if
plummeting
PhD?
thousands of feet to your
Huh?
instant demise, wasting however much
what
time
I'm
you just
saying.
poured into that
What if
game,
PhD?
then the zombies killing you, it's poorly designed. The counter argument I'm
PhD makes this map 110 times better. And we're adding
hearing
it.
is get
We're
better
adding
at
it.
jumping. And while there is certainly some validity to that, I believe the consequence is too great. At least on transit, if you misjump and land in a pit of lava, your game isn't instantly over. I somewhat respect
It won't be.
Die Rise for taking a big swing, being
PhD.
risky, but the verticality breaks
PhD.
the entirety of the map. There are lots of subsequent issues that stem from the verticality, and this is confirmed by Treyarch teasing PhD Flopper, the one.
So that's the thing, chat. Because we're adding PhD and a reusable key, is Die Rise going to be a better map?
Perk that would have been perfect
so.
for this exact
so.
type of
I
map.
think so.
Not only are we aware of the problem,
so.
we're going to take away the one thing that could potentially neutralize it, you fucking nerd. I would say the one redeeming quality is the Simplifier. It is inarguably the best wonder weapon of all time pre-patched. Post-patched, arguably still is. It's super easy to build, very fun to use. Unfortunately, though, it is a catalyst towards death. Do not use this near the ledges, which is much easier said than done.
Or use it
The
if you
same
know how to
shit
do
that's
it.
helping you kill the
That's what I'm
zombies
saying.
is ultimately going to kill you, which is ironic. And the best part of Die Rise is still problematic.
It's true.
The next category of
Oh,
maps
thank
just
God.
above
Yeah, Alpha Omega is this low. W.
to be bad are unmastered
W.
remasters.
Screw
that
this
did
pitiful map.
The exact opposite.
W.
To be clear, they're not direct remasters, as we talked about earlier. These
This
are
is the most
reimagined.
goated decision
They tried
Timothy
to
Hansen
positively
has put in.
expand on their predecessor, only to get worse.
Honestly, throughout the years, I have to say Alpha Omega has aged like an actual mildew under your sink. It is so disgusting what they've done with this map, bro.
Just about every regard. Not only are they bad, they're unoriginal. And let me just
I'll say it. Modern Warfare 3 Zombies better than Alpha Omega.
say, perhaps my biggest point of emphasis
I'll
is
say it.
originality.
I'll say it.
Innovation. You can't be unoriginal
I'll say it.
and fail. If you have the answers to
I'll
a
say
test
it.
and still fail, that's pitiful. Especially given the context of the predecessor. If you're a downgraded version of a map that already exists, there's no reason to play you. Fortunately for these maps, there's just
Literally.
enough of a trace of what made the predecessors good to be better than a Die
Should I
Rise
play
or
this map? I've been debating it too. Look at me right now. Look in the camera right now. No.
a transit, but they're still highly unflattering.
Don't do
Number
it.
30, Alpha Omega, a remaster of the remaster of the most remastered map
He did the YouTuber voice. Number 30.
in COD
Alpha
history.
Omega.
Not very original, highlighted by the least original wonder weapon ever. Sure, the bunker adds a new dynamic,
Alpha
but
Omega.
the spacing is dreadful.
The
In
YouTuber
and out
voice,
of the
man.
bunker. It's a cluster.
He's back.
There's nowhere to move around. And moreover, it's the little things. It's the Novas that electrocute you constantly. The Nova
It's the pack-a-punch system. It's the power. It's the Easter egg. It's the wonder weapons. It's everything on this map, man.
Novas that contaminate the surrounding zombies and
Burger
turn them
King
into
foot lettuce
7-Eleven
better.
crackheads sprinting at you full speed for a dime bag. And one of the most annoying things on any map ever is the ventilation system on Alpha
So
Omega.
garbage.
You go to Pack-a-Punch, one of the lights is off. So, you gotta redo the valve, only to realize that
This was 100% Jason Bundell's idea before he left Treyarch. He's like, I'm going to make those idiots sit at the freaking ventilation system the whole game. Jason Bundell,
all in
man.
consequence. So,
Bro hated us.
when one goes off, the next one does, and
He
the next
hated
one,
us.
and before you know it, you have to sit there and can turn 7 valves, and there's a bunch
Nah,
of
he
zombies
hated
fucking
us.
you in the
It's
butt while
so
you're doing it.
true.
And this happens like every other round. I swear, it's too often. It's too annoying. I would rather just play
No, this map
basic
is
ass Nuketown.
confirmed
Sure,
he
there's
hated
not
us.
as much meat on the bone, I suppose, but
Yeah, a giant tree.
I'll avoid the headache. The whole point was to expand with the story in BO4. Unfortunately, it was super anticlimactic, very low quality. It has no personality in the gameplay.
This map deserves to be this low because it wasn't even supposed to come out. Same thing with Togger Totem. We should have had another map and the Great War.
Sucks. It's a total
It's so
snooze fest.
true.
Number 29, Blood of the Dead.
W decision. We hate Blood of the Dead too.
Spoiler alert, Mob of the Dead, the original, is one of the
W.
greatest maps ever. You will
W.
find it much higher up
W.
on the list. Blood of the Dead does an excellent job at taking everything that made Mob of the Dead so special and either scrapping it entirely or replacing it with meaningless scrap. I understand that this is a result of the story taking such a major shift. And for whatever it's worth,
Listen, I did the round 100 Easter egg on this map. I know every single in and out of this map. This map, sure, it's a fun watch on a speed run, but playing this map is like doing the chores.
I think the story carries
what
whatever
it's like,
value
bro.
this map has.
It's like doing a chore list, bro.
Works, but let's be honest. It was the original mobsters in the original prison with the original escape plan that made this map so special. The atmosphere, the vibes, can't compare. But the real tragedy here is the layout. The map design got worse in every way. They expanded the island and essentially divided it into 2 sections bridged together by a deathly catwalk. We spawned in Rick Topping's lab within the...
I'm going to ask you again. Would you have rather had Blood of the Dead or a mob remaster on BO4?
To me putting these
first
amazing
section.
bows
That's what I'm
Don't
saying.
worry about
down
returning.
solo.
There's literally no reason to.
Bro, listen. Alpha Omega Kaka, man. I can't
I know you're
even lie.
used to feeding the hounds, but
Alpha
don't worry
Omega
about it. Getting the Hell's
Kaka.
Retriever is pointless. Wraith Fires are better. That's right. Afterlife is gone. One of the most innovative, dynamic elements the mode has ever seen is now replaced with this power switch. But there's
shield!
another one, so keep going. Do not open this gate unless you are armed to the teeth. You will die. All right, now we're back on Mob of the Dead, the only part of the island that matters.
Or you have your specials weapon, bro.
I know you're used to grabbing parts to build a plane, to make your way to the Golden Gate Bridge to pack a punch, but don't worry about any of that. We got rid of all of that so that you can focus on grabbing the shield parts and then tediously absorbing soul after soul so that you
With
can
a
then
frickin'
activate
key,
a
bruh.
moving pack-a-punch machine. Oh,
That
look,
doesn't
we
tell you
opened
where
up
it
the
is.
warden's house. How interesting. It adds nothing. I see you found the second power switch. Are you
adds
having fun
nothing.
yet? The Acid Gat Kit, the Golden Spore, Kel's Redeemer. Don't worry about grabbing any of that cool stuff. There's no point. Worry about grabbing the magma.
It's so true. Everything that made Mob iconic on this map is worthless. The Hell's Retriever, worthless. The Hell's Redeemer, worthless. Freaking everything.
Gat, which is
The
admittedly
Weeknd is
really
getting
cool,
a
but at
concert.
this point,
Have I loaded into Fortnite yet? Oh, I'm in. I can play the event. Oh, sheesh. Maybe I do. We'll
I
see.
think I'd rather play Mob of the
see.
Dead.
Yeah, me too.
I have dubbed the next category of maps minimal
finally made it
fun.
in.
They're a lot like the starved maps in essence.
Aw,
They're
man,
small,
Nuketown's too high.
Confined survival maps.
Nuketown
but
caca.
in this case, provide a little bit more meat on the
I like
bone,
that he put
therefore
Alpha
giving you
below
a
Nuketown.
reasonable fight. These are
Honestly, I
actually
can
fun.
agree
They're
with that.
actually worth playing because you don't have to sweat your nuts off the entire time. Number
That's
28,
exactly the truth.
Nuketown. That's right. The most
That's fair.
iconic multiplayer map ever.
Belongs
As far
near
as
the bottom.
Translating to zombies could have been worse, could have been better. It's not that deep, though. It doesn't take itself too seriously. The
not
big
that
distinction separating it
deep.
from the starved maps is, of course, Pack-a-Punch. You also...
Lads, okay, no. When was the last time you played this map, Nuketown? Oh, I freaking just skipped through the video. I don't even know where I am. Bro, I don't even know when the last time I played this map was.
Fortunately, those randomly spawn in every
Like,
5 rounds or so.
it must
You
have
don't
been
know
like
when you're
10
getting
years ago.
junk. It can be very
No, like
challenging,
3 years
but
ago.
a fun challenge nonetheless. Just a hair above that. At number 27, we have
Okay, Town, fair.
Basically,
Town
Nuketown
is
without
fair.
the random perk spawn. I love Town because it compresses transit into its strongest segment, cutting out all the bullshit.
Town is still the best survival map ever made.
and
One in
getting
chat
straight
if you
to the
agree.
fun. I
It's
would
the
not
best bare
at
bones
all
survival map.
Be surprised if I have played more Town than any other BO2 map, and I'm sure a
I
lot of y'all
agree.
can actually
I
relate
agree.
because, after all, it
I
is
do think
hands
Town's a little bit low, though.
down
I agree.
The most
Should be higher.
tolerable of this collectively disastrous launch. It is too basic to justify placing much higher than this. Although
True,
it
true.
is
I agree with
about as
that.
good as these basic survival maps get. Right above
Yeah.
that, sitting awkwardly at number 26,
Bro, he's goated for putting 5 above Town, but
we
love
have
5.
the Pentagon 5, which sort of fits into this
I love
category,
5.
sort of
This map's
doesn't.
so
On
good.
one hand, it is a basic survival map, especially relative to its BO1 peers. On the other hand, it is a clear notch above the previously mentioned maps. It
would
separates
you guys rank this map 5 out of 10?
itself not only with this
Nah, I'd
spectacular
rank it
cast
higher
of
than that.
politicians
I'd rank
and
it higher
greater
than that.
contribution to the overall story, but
I like
more
this
complete
map, bro.
gameplay. There is
good map.
Pack-a-Punch. There are traps, albeit in terrible locations, and there is an additional wonder weapon, albeit the Winter's Howl. And
literally
I, for
the
one,
worst wonder
despite
weapon
popular
ever.
opinion, really enjoy the Pentagon.
Me
feature.
too,
There's not
man!
A challenge quite like him out there.
It's so true. He's one of the most unique bosses in the game, and he's freaking horrifying. Even in 2023, you go back.
Unique, and I
Still
appreciate
scary.
that. He obviously can take your loadout.
Yeah.
Can be very
He's
frustrating.
a great
but
boss.
if you manage to put him down within a timely manner, not only
Nuketown
do
is
you
better
get
than 5. No, the Pentagon Thief itself, Hybes, makes this map better than Nuketown.
your loadout back.
This
with
is
a
one of the best bosses in Zombies.
max ammo. You also get
He's
one of the
so
rarest
fun to
drops
play
ever.
with, bro.
What really holds 5 back is the poor spacing. It's a lot like Verruct, where you have traps, you have a semi-decent training spot,
And the weapons
not
are all
really.
terrible.
You could technically make this work,
Pretty
but
much.
it is an uphill battle. So while 5 is conceptually superb, it is very suffocating.
It's true. It is a
I
very
like to call these
tough
next
map.
couple of maps Recycled and Snooze. Yes, that's cute, clever names.
Yeah, Forsaken should be here. I'm going to be honest. Forsaken is probably my least played Cold War map next to Firebase Z.
For these tiers, they take inspiration
map
from previous
was
experiences, and while aren't necessarily downgrades, while they're not quite as embarrassing as an Alpha, Omega, or Blood of the Dead, they are still unimpressive. They do offer more than these super primitive maps, though. Number 25, Forsaken. Even less impressive than all of the recycled shit we see from previous Cold War maps is the poorly designed pit they're all thrown in.
I wonder if he's going to include Outbreak. I don't think he is, but I respect him putting Forsaken this low.
It is quite possibly the laziest design ever. You
I
spawn
agree.
on this street,
I
then
agree.
teleport to another
It's literally you're playing a campaign map strung together with 5 teleporters.
street. You then teleport
I agree.
to another
This
street.
map's
You then
layout is so mid.
teleport to the amplifier, and then you teleport to Pack-a-Punch. And then you can zip line back and forth between the other 2 streets.
Yeah, no,
it is the most
mid-map.
linear,
Mid-map.
boring, predictable layout ever. And a good
So
percentage of
true.
it is closed off from artillery. I'm a big fan of chopper gunners. They're badass, and they're essentially
Oh,
a
that's
get-out-of-jail-free
true.
card.
I didn't
In the
realize that.
amplifier room, you cannot use it. And don't
Yeah.
even get me started on the overwhelming clusterfuck of returning boss zombies. I really wanted to see Mimics again.
True.
Definitely. And while I'm not necessarily...
No, I didn't want to see Mimics. I never wanted to see Mimics after Firebase Z. And honestly, I agree. Sometimes there's zombie maps with just too many bosses. I'm looking at you, Modern Warfare 3
Necessarily
zombies.
reducing points for an uninteresting plot, given that, as far as I'm concerned, Cold War Zombies is driven almost exclusively by the gameplay. I couldn't give a fuck less about the story. It certainly doesn't
True.
help. It's not a particularly strong map, but
I won't lie, chat. Dark Ether Story's mid. One in the chat if you agree.
does provide
It's
more than the
mid.
super basic maps we've talked about thus far, and I think there is some fun to be had. You do have a pretty dope wonder weapon in the Crystal Axe. You have ideal spacing.
Crystal Axe is
Pack-a-Punch.
the
You
thing
can have
that
the same
saves
amount
this
of
map
fun
so
mindlessly
hard.
running circles in this map as you would on a map like Town, for instance, but with more at your disposal. Number 24, Tog, Der Toten, another BO4
Ooh.
remake.
Dude, nothing I agree with this list so far.
It has
Or nothing
a
I disagree
positive,
with, I
if
mean.
at least not totally negative atmospheric shift with a new fun summer beach vibe, which I dig. It works. And while the new added space doesn't necessarily enhance what already existed, it does.
Bro, yeah, I probably played this map in Alpha Omega a grand total of under 10 times. One in the chat if you agree.
Actively
I don't
subtract
think I've
from
played
either.
this map
Like Blood of the Dead,
that
though,
often.
unfortunately, it takes a lot of what made the original special, in this case Call of the Dead, which we will dive in depth with pretty soon here, and makes it a whole lot more generic. The fun celebrity cast is replaced
Tog better than Town. I can agree with that because, listen, I like Tog and I like Call of the Dead and Tim likes Call of the Dead. It's just that, like, I get the way he's ranking this list. He's more putting them into categories.
Victus,
right?
arguably the most insufferable group of people. The exciting, unique wonder weapons
Yeah,
are
Victus.
replaced with some of the most commonly
Victus ain't
used
it.
ever. The Thunder Gun. How
Thunder
exhilarating.
Gun.
The Tundra
The Thunder Gun
I'm
zipline
sure that
glitch
took a
makes
lot
this
of
map
thought.
good.
And
Yep.
the Wonderwaff, if
Patched.
the Wonderwaff stopped taking its antidepressants, it is
So true.
not good. And I think the fattest L that was took here was the replacement of George Romero, the heart and soul of not only Call of Duty zombies, but the genre as a whole, with...
I feel like it would have been weird if they put him into a zombies map after he died. One in the chat if you agree. I don't know. I guess I get why they didn't do it. You know,
dogs. Again, the most commonly used thing. The
But I don't know.
BO4 Ether remakes are disappointing. They feel like fluff to supplement what was, although ambitious, a poorly received
So
chaos storyline.
true.
This map is a step down from Call of the Dead.
It
Not
is.
nearly
It
as
is.
significant as Blood is to Mob, for example, but given that Call
Thank you,
of the
Jake,
Dead
for the raid.
exists and I can go play
Appreciate
it,
bro.
I would rather just do that, thus leaving Tog with not much of a genuine purpose. Although I will say, I do appreciate Golden Pack-a-Punch, and I did enjoy the ending. It was heartfelt, despite the low-quality cutscene.
True, true, true.
The next few
nothing
maps,
I
at
can't even
least,
hate.
tried.
Voyage.
The
Did
previous
Voyage
games,
really try?
were
No,
ambitious.
they did. Voyage did try.
They were innovative.
It
They
did.
took a
They
big
only flown for
swing.
Liberate. Yeah,
Unfortunately,
it did.
They
It did
largely
try.
flopped, but they weren't quite as much of a dumpster
I
fire
agree.
as an actively bad map like a Transit or a Die Rise. They
That's
certainly
true.
provide more and deserve more credit than a map that played by the rules, had all the answers to the test,
But
and
it's
still
still
ended
caca.
up dull. Look no
Yeah.
further than number 23, Voyage of Despair. If you had told me that COD Zombies was going to take place on the Titanic a decade ago, my brain would have exploded. There was immense potential.
See, that's the thing. Like, I agree with his take. 10 years ago, I would have been going insane for a Titanic, and we were. It's just that, like, the map is just not well playable. Like, it
sounded
just
like a
not
brilliant
well
idea
playable.
on paper.
not a good
Unfortunately,
design.
the potential was missed, primarily with the Easter egg, which could have been something along the lines of saving the ship from sinking, focusing more
Same,
on
on
one
the
of the most
people.
infamous tragedies in human history. No, it has to
No.
do with this giant ice eye in the sky and planets and
We hate the people.
who the fuck knows? The new Chaos storyline debuts with a new cast of characters, which I give it credit for, despite being a little underwhelming.
little
The real annoying part
mitterini.
is how the maps are out of order chronologically. Voyage of Despair does not happen first, and of course we do not find that out until the other Chaos maps release.
dead of the
But
night.
this map's biggest issue, interestingly enough, is the design. It's the Titanic. How could it go wrong? Well, if you really think about it, when you are trying to faithfully
Chat, what do you think Tim's number one is going to be?
and accurately portray
What do you think
a
it's gonna
real
be? I don't know.
location,
Is it
you only
shadows?
have so much creative freedom. You can't go too
don't
far
know.
out
That'd
of
be
the
my
box.
guess.
So,
Bob,
in the
maybe?
case of a confined boat, the spacing
Or is
isn't
it DE?
exactly
Oh, it could be
ideal. And
DE.
strangely enough, it
I don't
can be a
know.
bit challenging to distinguish different parts of this map, especially on the inside,
Kino.
where it feels like each floor is a
It's gotta
copy
be
and
Kino.
paste stacked on top of each other. A map like
Kino.
5, for example, also struggles with this issue. It's based on a real
Chat, it's true. He hasn't ran Kino yet.
location and thus cannot deviate too far
Hasn't
from
ran
that
Kino.
design. The devs only have so much creative freedom while trying to maintain the integrity of the Pentagon. And the same thing
Where's
applies here with the
Kino,
Titanic.
bro?
Not to mention the vibes are a bit off. It's a bit dull atmospherically, given that
Yeah.
we are riding a soon-to-be water.
Lads, I'm going to be honest. One in the chat, if you even know the layout of this map. Like, you confidently can say you know the whole layout of this map. I'm going to be honest. I'm a tour. I still don't know the full layout of this map.
grade
I have
on
no
a freezing
idea
cold
where I'm
night in
going
the
half the
Atlantic.
time.
I say all of that to say that Voyage does
I just
offer
don't
an
know.
experience that you cannot get anywhere else. It is unique. It is expansive. I enjoy using the Kraken, and I can appreciate what Voyage is despite its limitations. Which transitions us beautifully into number 22, another Chaos map.
Dead of the Night.
Dead of the Night.
I respect him putting it this high. Because
Atmosphere-
honestly, this map does deserve it. This map should have been the Shadows of Evil of Black Ops 4. The Mob of the Dead of Black Ops 4.
Graphically
You know?
stunning, conceptually great.
Too much BO4, man.
Unfortunately, still a better idea on paper. Fighting
Exactly.
zombies and vampires and werewolves with ghosts and puzzles and mysteries. and
Sounds
giant
sick.
spooky mansion.
Yeah.
It sounds like a terrifying but beautiful nightmare. It was
It
poorly
sounds
executed.
sick.
I really
Yeah.
don't know where to start, and I think that's because the most fitting adjective for this map's issues is overwhelming.
Exactly.
In nearly
There's
every
too much
regard.
going on.
There are
bro.
so many different
That
cool
is not at
enemies and
3 a.m.,
weapons
man.
to fight them with, but the barrier to entry is too big. There's simply too much to overcome, especially for beginners. Good luck playing this map if you are
Chat, do you guys know someone that this was their first map? If this was your first Zombies map, I want to give you a formal apology at this point.
new to the mode. And all of the issues are inherently linked.
If this
map
was
is
your
so
first map,
expansive,
I'm
there are
so
many
sorry.
doors to open that all of your points are being allocated to that. Therefore, you probably have a low-end starting gun, therefore are struggling to fight off the ridiculous quantity of vampires and bullet sponge werewolves. Modern-day problems require require modern-day solutions, though.
Exactly.
So, while you're simultaneously trying to acquire the 3 tuning forks for Pack-a-Punch, the Alistair's Foley, to then get the Chaos Theory, to then get the Alistair's Annihilator, you can, along the way, acquire the Stake
You can freaking get a university degree for how much stuff is in the zombies map.
Knife and
Literally.
Saturn Impaler to
There's
neutralize
so
the
much
vampires,
stuff
and
in
the
this
silver
freaking
bullets
map.
for the werewolves. And you thought you were going to play this map without a Mr. Raffle Waffles tutorial. You silly you. Also,
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly.
Catalysts, because we hate you. Let me be
Yeah,
clear,
pretty
as you'll
much.
find with some of
Let
the
me be
highest
clear.
ranked maps on this list, I don't mind putting forth lots of effort for
You ever play Assassin's Creed? Yeah, Assassin's Creed better than Dead of the Night,
lots
unfortunately.
of reward, as long as the ratio
It's like
is
booting up
balanced,
Mario
as
than
long as
playing
the
Elden Ring.
exchange is
Yeah, pretty
fair.
much.
In Dead of the Night's case, I wouldn't say that's exactly true. And I will say these characters are absolutely in contention.
Can I be honest? The worst 4 characters in Call of Duty Zombies, period. Hands down. Like, I think I'd rather prefer operators over these 4 characters.
Or some of the worst ever. Anyways,
I
do
prefer
appreciate,
operators.
like Voyage, how daring this map
Dog,
was,
that's
what it brings
rough.
to the table, what it represents.
That's
But
not
the
right.
gameplay is suffocating.
Shrek stepsisters
Don't
in
worry,
this map,
folks. We
bro.
are now pivoting into the actively good
Ooh,
maps. Which
Revelations
are,
at the bottom?
majority, even the quote-unquote
I actually agree with this. Revelations is probably my least played BO3 map.
ad maps
I
we've
agree.
discussed thus
I
far
agree.
are playable and enjoyable to some extent.
agree.
All of Treyarch Zombies gets a green light from Timmy. This next category is recycled and improved. Maps that took inspiration from previous experiences.
I like the categories,
and
like I said.
positively expanded on them. So naturally, there's going to be more positivity than negativity going
positivity,
forward.
boys?
Although
Any
a lot of you are going to be
positivities?
surprised and potentially very angry at your boy for this placement. At number 21, we have Revelations.
I can't
Again,
even
there
be
are
mad.
No game-breaking issues with any of the upcoming maps. Everything going
Yeah,
forward
I can't even be mad. Having this at the bottom of good tier makes sense to me.
is a net positive
Makes sense to
rather
me.
than a
I
net
agree.
negative. Revelations is a good
Can't even be
map,
mad.
but of all of the good maps, Revelations has the weakest leg to stand on.
I agree.
And that's
I
because
agree.
it relies
It's fair.
entirely on previously existing maps. Like I said earlier, I put a huge emphasis
true.
on innovation, originality.
And honestly, it deserves to be at the bottom of good because this map started the BO4 trend from all the maps that we just reviewed prior to this.
providing something
So,
that no other map
honestly,
does. And
I agree, man.
Revelations
I
relies
agree.
more on nostalgia and returning features than any map ever.
Yep.
After the initial infatuation wears off, you quickly realize it is a giant recycling bin. There isn't a single original wonder weapon, and of the myriad of bosses, only one
Not even an original specialist weapon, bro. I really wanted the summoning key as a specialist weapon on this map. And there was a mod that added it, and it looks so good on the mod. I wish it was real on
on
Rev,
the
bro.
furries be unique. And
There
other
should have
than
been the Great
inside
War map,
Apothecan's
too.
Belly and Spawn, every bit of this map is comprised of fragments of actual, original, innovative maps. And to be
Yeah.
honest, I think it would have been acceptable had the ending not been so anticlimactic, so disappointing.
Zombies
and
ending's
frankly, with the release of
anticlimactic?
Zombies
No way.
Chronicles, with the majority of these maps being individually remastered, a lot of the incentive to play Revelations disappeared. So I do think, in the grand scheme of things, it is unoriginal and a bit underwhelming.
I agree.
With that all
I agree.
being said,
It's aged
I do still
poorly
think
throughout the
it
years.
did a relatively good job. It certainly could have done much
It's still a good map, though. Like, that's the thing. It's not bad.
worse,
But it could have
did
been way
blend everything
better.
together well. It's atmospherically gorgeous,
Yeah.
great spacing, seamless flow, and it has some of the most fun OP wonder weapons ever, thus making
Yeah,
one of
that's
the
the thing.
best
It's still a
high
good
rounds
map.
out there.
Definitely not
Revelations
bad.
is ironically not a revelation. It is not groundbreaking by any means, but it is the absolute epitome of fun. Number 20, Classified. 5, reimagined of the BO4
Classified above Rev. I don't know about all that, but you know what? I
Ether
guess.
maps, it did far and away the best job, positively expanding on the original.
I do
while
think it's probably the
fixing
best
its
remaster
core
on
issues.
BO4 for
the added
Ether.
space is actually meaningful. It's not a waste. It improves what was an otherwise
Bro
restricted
is on
map.
the
They fixed
Zaza
the teleporters.
vibes.
They are now reliable and
Fucking vibes, bro.
consistent. They also buffed the Winter's Howl, and though admittedly
The
replacing
buff was not that good, though.
the Pentagon
buff
Thief
should have
with
been way
Hounds
more.
was a lame move. It's not that big of a deal. The reason I place Classified above Revelations is because I find it a whole lot more impressive. I respect a map that improved upon what was an otherwise very flawed but cool concept over a map that relies on lots of different maps has a bit of an identity crisis. And number 19 goes to D Machine.
Dang, D Machine above Revelations, boys? Woo! What do you guys think about that? Honestly, bro, I can't even lie. In terms of the impact, I can agree. Bro, Tfue was playing D Machine getting to like round 100. The impact this map had on the entire community brought back a ton of people. No other zombies map since D Machine was able to do this. This is a bold pick, but you know what? I can understand the reasoning. I can't even lie. This is not a bad list. I can't
like
even
the
lie.
previous few maps,
D Machine was big when it came out. It's so true.
In this case, Nocturne.
It's so true.
Unlike those maps, however,
I know he's gonna put Firebase Z above this map though. So his Firebase Z pick, that's the one that we're gonna all say is invalid.
Isn't entirely predicated on that. It builds.
But I get putting D Machine here. I get it.
Forming a separate entity.
I get it.
It still is very much a part of the map. It's no longer the primary focus. That would now be the previously inaccessible forest and new underground bunker. Everything is laid out for you. Power and Pack-a-Punch are easy. The 4 elemental variants of the Shockwave.
I'm gonna be honest, chat. Okay, if you were to go back and play Cold War Zombies, what's the first map you're loading up? To me, it's either Mauer or D Machine. Right? Like, so D Machine
make it one of the more dynamic
deserves
wonder weapons,
to be here,
Plague
bro.
Hounds, and
It deserves a
Megaton
spot.
are cool bosses. I love the aesthetic, the vibes. It feels like I'm playing a first-person arcade shooter, and I especially love the Dark Ether. It is visually stunning.
This map was such a strong entry to Cold War, and I honestly think it's because of this map that Zombies is still like sort of relevant. People still want to know what's going on.
The light and dark duality.
So
I
WD
enjoyed
Machine
this map. It was
W.
the perfect way to kick off the Cold War era.
I agree. It was a great
struggled
entry
to
map.
come up with a distinct identity for this tier for the next few maps.
This is where we disagree.
They are good and solid like the previous few, but unlike those are...
I'm gonna be honest, man. Firebase Z is aging like milk to me, man. This map, I don't know what it is. It's just not it.
completely unique.
I
Keep
don't
in
know.
mind, we are in the smack
I
dab
don't know,
middle
man.
of this list. So, by definition, these
I haven't
maps are
played
quite
Firebase in a
literally
minute,
mid.
too.
I think they're good. The majority of maps are, like I said.
Yeah,
Number
this is the
18
mid tier
is
for sure.
Firebase Z. I understand it's not the most exhilarating map out there. I don't understand, however, why it catches as much shit as it does. It feels a bit unwarranted.
I think it's just because I feel like D Machine is better. You know? Like, this map's new innovative things aren't really that great. Like, the defense wave rounds with the Ordas. The Orda itself is just so mid. It's just like the definition of mid.
Warranted,
You know?
it is solid. I like the fiery jungle vibe, the space.
I won't lie though, I do think the map layout is pretty unique and the jumpers are pretty cool. It's just like, I don't know, the egg is kind of not that great. The mimics aren't really that great. Orda's not really that great.
Thing is good. The Ray K is fun
know?
and dynamic. The assault waves
The
keep
Ray K got nerfed a bunch of times.
you on your toes and break
You know?
monotony.
I will say though, one in the chat, if you agree with me, I agree. I enjoyed this map more on the launch than I do now. I think this map on launch was better than it is now.
The only thing that pisses me off about this map, the only real complaint I have,
Honestly,
are the
I think
mimics,
so.
But at least they took a swing there. Would I choose to play Firebase over D Machine? Not
No.
necessarily, but
No.
my personal bias will
No, I
not
would
be
not.
injected here. Objectively, Firebase is just about everything that D Machine is without the added benefit of building upon a previously existing map. Firebase is...
That's very true. That's very true. This is the chat. This is the only original Cold War Zombies map because the rest of the maps are campaign, and I don't like it.
original. And right above that, at number 17, we have
Oh my
Mauer
God.
der Toten. If you haven't noticed already, all of the Cold War
Mauer is the best Cold War map is a W. W
maps, aside
Mauer.
from Forsaken, which
Mauer.
is clear down
Mauer.
all
Mauer.
next to each other in chronological
W
order.
Mauer.
So that
Where's
just goes
Outbreak,
to
though?
show that they're not
Where's Outbreak?
in essence very different from one another. It's clearly more original than
Wait,
D Machine.
Firebase Z is campaign? I forgot.
And clearly
But still, it is like more of an original design just in terms of the layout, but
a notch above Firebase, primarily through the
W Mauer.
Cerberus, which is quite possibly one of the best wonder weapons ever. There are a few different attachments.
Cerberus is one of the best wonder
model.
weapons
Every few
ever.
kills you
I
get
agree.
is
Listen, the Cerberus is insane.
zombie drops.
Looks
them,
good,
constantly switching up the
plays
gameplay,
good.
breaking the monotony. You essentially have unlimited
Great
ammo.
wonder
They
weapon.
are super dynamic
Great wonder
and
weapon.
fun to use. Moreover, the concept of Berlin Wall zombies, super cool and perfectly
is sick.
encapsulates the Cold War era. I also enjoy the return of Papa Panza. All Cold War maps
Papa
feel
Panza!
quite similar,
That's
but
my boy.
Mauer is the most complete.
More
Number
like cousin Krasny sold that, bro.
16 goes to
Buried.
which is unfortunately roped in with the rest of the Victus storyline, but is somehow the clear outlier. Why is this? There are several
Can't even hate, man. I got the round 100 on this map.
reasons. I think a good starting point would be the
It is a
overall
little low
design,
for
which
Buried, though.
admittedly is a little clunky. It's far from perfect, but it is nowhere near the dumpster fire of a Transit or a Die Rise. I love
agree,
the concept and the atmosphere, the classic American Western town buried underground, an unlikely duality that not only was daring but worked. Not only
Is this the best of the worst or worst of the best? I think it's the worst of the best. So I think Buried is kind of that. Buried's an A-tier map. So it's like the worst of the best.
that, but the
I get
gameplay
that.
is some of the most innovative and unique.
There's so
ever,
much
including
originality
the
on this one. It's so
Paralyzer, Mark
true.
II, time bombs,
Yeah.
vulture aid, buildables, drawing chalk outlines.
This
of
map did
suns for
everything
thousands of
right,
points,
bro.
And of course, Leroy.
Leroy!
Arthur. It's so out of pocket.
My boy!
It's so brilliant.
Why do I feel like I'm
Dynamic.
watching a
The
Codename
possibilities
Pizza
with
stream?
Candy and booze.
That's
are
what I'm saying. We got that
limitless.
saturation.
Whether it's opening up the map, building things, or smacking the shit out of some Z's. And of course, who could forget the Witch's House? It's unlike anything we've seen before.
That's true.
Open the door, run along and shoot. Don't get robbed by the whore.
Honest...
You better watch.
What the... Honestly, we need more stuff like this, though, in Buried. That's what I was going to say. I was like,
She'll
whoa.
touch your bum and take
I
your
was like,
fun. You better
whoa.
run. And once you get to the end, hopefully...
I paused at the
you have some
worst
money to
time.
spend. There's a free perk, my friend. Buried is outstanding, except for one little thing that keeps it from being potentially even higher, and that is the one-dimensional high rounding. Despite all of the fun quirks
True.
and resources at your disposal, the
Buff the Paralyzer. Bring back the Paralyzer. Subsurface Resonator round 100 ain't it.
gameplay ultimately boils
Ain't
down to
it?
and almost exclusively promotes camping.
And
Sitting in a corner
buildables.
with the Paralyzer, with vulture aid, buildables,
Yeah.
and tapping. Tapping.
Woo!
Like I alluded
I
to
love
earlier,
Buried.
spacing is tight.
I love tapping on my
Ideal for
mouse.
Training. It's much easier and smarter.
He
to
is
camp. I
sick,
don't
though.
mind that
It's so
being
true.
The main strategy.
Easter
but
egg's
it's the
incredible.
only strategy. It takes away great.
I like
from
both sides of
the
Eggman for
excitement.
Buried.
Otherwise, fantastic map.
Fantastic map, sure.
This is when we start talking about the
Ooh.
truly great.
Call of the Dead above Buried. Listen, I know everybody's going to hate my man Timothy, but I got to give it to Timothy. This is a W pick. This
Maps.
is a W
The next
pick.
few, however, are great, but
Woo!
unsteady. They are unique.
love Call of the
expansive, high
Dead,
quality
man.
experiences, but
Call of the
with a pinch
Dead.
of chaos.
Call
At
of
number
the
15,
Dead.
we have my beloved Call of the Dead. I really
Kino
wish
better
I
than
could
Call of the
place
Dead?
it so
Wait,
much
where is Kino? Bro, where is Kino? Is this a Chaosic Silencer list?
higher. It
Where
is
is
one of my
Kino?
personal favorites. It is a one of one. It is legendary. But we
Kino,
are
man?
being objective. Despite being a phenomenal map, it does have one glaring weakness. The wonder weapons. While some of the most creative and fun to use out there are severe.
Bro, chat, in 4 days we get the VR11 on Modern Warfare 3 Zombies. I'm excited to see what it does. I hope it's good. I hope it's not
limited,
caca
which
like this
wouldn't
one.
be so backbreaking if there were traps to supplement this issue.
I'm excited to
There are
see
no
it in
traps,
MW3.
thus high rounding suffers. The VR11 is interesting but awful. The Scavenger is exciting but craps out in the mid 40s, and the WAF, the only infinite damage wonder weapon, is temporary. So while collectively decent and with a will there's a way, we cannot ignore the cold harsh reality. But in the same respect, they deserve credit for how unique they are, for how unique
True.
and daring the entire experience is.
I'll still say it. This map has one of the best layouts ever made in Zombies.
Look no
Hands down.
further than the
Just
celebrity
such a
cast
well-designed
directed by
map.
the creator of Zombies as we know
People only
it.
like
Yes,
Kino because it's
constantly follows you
nostalgic.
around,
I know.
But can be taken advantage of.
Lex
Every
Krups is
time
on
you
round
put him down, you get
7,000.
the waft
What's
of
new?
free drugs. Call of the Dead is an absolute
Chad, here's the real question. When is Krups not on round 7,000? That's the real question.
grand slam, especially given the context of 2011. It's not perfect. We haven't reached that point in the list, but we are getting closer.
What's next?
At number 14, we have,
Shang!
and this is going to rattle some people to
Shang!
the very core, Shangri-La.
Bro, I would not put Shang this high. I'm going to be honest. Listen, I like Shang, but I don't think Shang
Which is
should be
structurally
this high.
similar in just about
I
every
would've
way,
put it
most
way lower.
notably through irritating
Shang.
but advantageous bosses. In this case,
Shang.
monkeys that can be manipulated to get specific power-ups. And
I will say, though, Shang is the most beautiful zombies map ever. And I think because of that, it should be put higher up. But I think this is too high.
The players also hinder the zombies.
One of the most
So as long as
beautiful
you're quick
zombie
and
maps
smart, they
ever
will
made.
ultimately benefit you. I think a couple of things give Shangri-La the slight edge. Primarily, the wonder weapon.
Oh, the
Big
wonder
Maker
weapon is
not
the
only
whole
one of the
reason.
most fun wonder weapons to use. Wink.
It's a great wonder
It is
weapon.
one of the best. Thus, high rounding is more feasible even despite the
Yeah.
tight spacing and continued lack of
Shang
props.
is such a
Shangri-La
gorgeous
also
map,
has
man.
far and away
Look
the
how
most
good it
beautiful
looks.
atmosphere in
Wow.
Zombies history paired
Yeah.
with a spectacular Easter egg and storytelling.
Honestly,
Don't get it
this is kind of what I wanted Firebase Z to be like. One in the chat if you agree. I wanted Firebase Z to be more of like a Shangri-La 2. But we didn't really get that, you know?
twisted. It is challenging, but it is a reasonable, fulfilling
Shang or
challenge. You
Firebase
have
Z,
sufficient
Shangri-La. Shangri-La.
Resource.
Just I'd rather play just because the map itself looks more better.
It's up to you,
know?
to piece it all together. And just above that, at number 13, we have BO1's grand finale, Moon. This epic story ends with a big old bang.
Moon's lit.
Literally.
Can't
So
even
each
hate.
map within this
Moon's
story
lit.
gets naturally, progressively better. Moon shares similar
Wave Gun, one of the best
characteristics to the
looking
previous
wonder
few maps, and
weapons.
No
Great
doubt
map.
has the occasional minor inconvenience. Excavators, cosmonauts, and frankly, some of the byproducts of the fact that it's in space. The
in the
sporadic
frickin' moon,
anti-gravity,
boy.
suffocating without the PE.
Chat, where's Kino?
Even
Where's
despite all
Kino?
of this, it has far and away the most to offer. One of the
Not
most
again,
effective,
man.
dynamic wonder
Why
weapons
is it every time I load up one of these tier lists, I'm always asking, where's Kino?
ever. The wave gun
What
paired
is
with
it?
more than enough space
Where's
makes for
Kino?
easier, more fun high rounding. And the hacker takes things to a whole new
Best
level.
zombies
It
map of
provides
all
a seemingly
time, man.
endless amount of ways to manipulate the game in your favor. And in my
Kino.
opinion, Moon has the greatest Easter egg, the greatest finale in Zombies history.
I
suppose it's
honestly,
not
I still agree with it. It's the best ending Easter egg.
everybody's cup of tea, but a map, no less a man, on the moon is about as ambitious as it gets.
Oh, my man with the JFK
The next
quotes.
few maps are also great, but steady.
Wait, Shino Numa's up here? I gotta disagree. What the frick is Shino Numa doing here?
Simple, reliable, fun, which I believe sometimes gets lost in the progressive complexity of the mode. And as you'll see at the very top of the list, complexity does go a long way when paired with fun, but simple, balanced fun
Chat, I'm gonna be honest. Shino Numa is not this good. You're only a high round player if you're putting it up this high.
devoid of any glaring issues
Literally,
also
bro.
goes a long way. These maps
I'm
are
not to round 1,000 on this map. I could say that. This map is not that good, bro.
nothing if not a relaxing good time. Number 12 might cause a riot in the comments. It is Shino Numa.
I just can't disagree. Shino Numa should not be this high. Same thing with Shang.
Way too
Bro,
high up
where's
on the list, you may be
Kino?
thinking to yourself.
Not
But really,
again!
think about it.
Bro,
You
where's
have
Kino?
everything you need,
Show me
and there's
Kino
no
right
catch. There are no drawbacks.
Show me Kino right
it's
now.
A lot like Nocturne and Toten and Verruct.
now. Where's Kino?
Not even a pack-a-punch machine, but you don't need that. All you need is the waff. There's
And the
24
PPSH.
zombies capped per round. It takes but a few shots to end the round with an incoming max ammo every 5 rounds
Come
or so,
on,
thus
man.
famously
Don't do
creating
this.
the easiest high
Don't
round
put
of all
Kino
time, which
next,
some may argue
please.
takes away from the map. I would argue the opposite. If you're going for the world
Kino
record
is
or
not
are just
better than
trying
Call
to
of
get the
Duty. I agree.
highest conceivable round you can get to,
This map, I do agree though with Tim. This is one of the chat if you agree. This is the combat training of Call of Duty Zombies. Like, this is where you want to get an easy round 100 in like an hour and a half. Play this map.
You're playing World
This
at
is a
War
combat
Shinonuma.
training.
Yeah,
Call of Duty
it's
Zombies.
basic. But the reason why so many basic maps landed so low on this list is because it's not really a fair fight. They don't provide sufficient resources.
Hybs is saying hot take Vanguard Shinonuma is the best Shinonuma. I can't even argue that because I never freaking played it.
This map
So,
does. Not to mention, it's where the
I
storyline
don't know.
unofficially begins. We see
No
Ultimus
clue.
connect for the first time, and this map innovated quite a bit as well with the first high-end wonder weapon and Hellhounds, which quickly became the standard boss zombie. I rest my case. Shinonuma is quite possibly the most underrated map ever.
Wait, is
and
Darius
it
next,
deserves
and then Kino?
to be in this spot. Fight me. Number 11 goes to the Cinema of the Dead.
It's just too dang high.
It's
just too dang high.
It is easily the most iconic, the most popular map of all time, which makes sense. It launched with
That is hands down the truth. Every single person that has ever played COD Zombies, you have to agree, Kino is the most recognizable zombies map
the
ever.
highest selling Call of Duty ever.
True.
When you think COD Zombies,
It's Kino.
You think Kino der Toten.
It's true.
Subsequently, the casuals gassed it up as one of, if not the
Chat,
best.
it surprises me we haven't had a remaster like D Machine from Kino der Toten. Honestly, I think COD 2024 should make a Kino remaster. If they did, the casuals would eat that up, bro.
Map ever, which
They would
just
eat
objectively
that
isn't true.
up.
There's not enough there for it to take the crown, which sent the hardcore players into a frenzy, pushing back.
Wasn't it rumored to be? It was.
overcompensating,
Well,
calling it
they
the
should
most
do it.
overrated map ever. And I think somewhere along the way, we've just sort of lost the plot here. We have lost the nuance. No, it is not the best map ever. Yes, it is still great. It's pretty straightforward and relatively easy. You hop right into the action, you have everything you need. Pack-a-punch, plenty of space, and the new, extremely powerful thunder.
Like, see, this is the thing. I want to play Kino on Cold War mechanics. I would be interested to see how that would
It's
work.
by no means groundbreaking,
You know?
but what makes Kino so special is its intensely eerie vibe. It is so heavy, so potent, especially when playing for the first time. It swallows you whole. You get goosebumps. You feel a shiver down your spine. Don't get me wrong, I love me an aesthetically profound atmosphere. Color and lighting are so important, but nothing hits quite like the true and traditional horror that Kino encapsulates.
They announced Gulf War
best.
Zombies
Look,
yet? No,
I
not
get
yet.
it.
They
We've
won't do
played
that
this
till
map
next
a
year.
lot, perhaps too much. Maybe the magic's worn off, but in a vacuum, Kino represents COD Zombies like no other. Gentlemen,
Yeah, it's true.
we are
Ascension above Kino, I have to agree.
Italy.
I have
top
to
10.
agree.
Number 10
Ascension's
goes
better
to
than Kino.
Ascension, which
It
like
is.
Kino
True.
is simple, well-rounded
True.
fun. Great high rounding with lots and
BO1
lots of
lovers.
space for Thunder Gun and this giant cylindrical dildo
Ascension
that
is
infinitely
so much
kills and
better.
spawn. It was, full pun intended, a huge ascension for the mode. A
Okay, chat. BO1 or BO3 Ascension? I'm a BO3 Ascension lover.
huge step in
Honestly,
the right direction.
ooh,
Lots
that
of
map looks so
ambition and
good.
innovation with not one, but two perks, PhD and Stamina Up, Gershes, Matryoshka dolls, and of course space monkeys, who are admittedly
Bless me, that's
super
Ascension right
irritating.
there.
I like
I'm
to keep as
ascensioning
many
my,
of my
my
drugs
sneezes.
as I can, but are unique nonetheless, adding
my
a
goodness.
dynamic we hadn't seen before. And the very first main Easter egg, are you kidding me? And there's just something so cool about riding the 3 lunar landers and shooting a rocket up into the sky for Pack-a-Punch. It matches the simplistic fun
It's
of
wild because this map is also a campaign map from BO1, but it just doesn't feel like a campaign map. It feels like a zombies map.
previous
Like, one in
few
chat
maps,
if you
but
agree.
takes
It
up
just
an extra notch.
feels
It's even more expansive
really
and
good on
exciting. It
zombies.
checks just about every box. Ascension is awesome.
you,
But the
chat.
king of these maps, right above that, at number 9, we have Darius.
See, listen, I will never make fun of Darius for being top 10 because this map is actually deserving of that. It is one of the best layouts ever made.
The most
It is such a good map.
revolutionary map ever, primarily, of course, through the debut.
Probably the best co-op
of
map
Pack-a-Punch.
ever made,
The
I would still
single
say.
most important innovation
And
the
Pap.
mode has ever seen.
It's
it cannot
true.
be undersold
Yeah.
how significant
Pack-a-Punch
upgrading
is
your
such a
guns
big deal
is.
in
It took the
zombies.
game to an entirely new level. Of
Yeah.
course, paired with the WAF, good spacing, and the most iconic camping spot ever. It also just so happens to be the route, the single most important map in the entire Zombies storyline.
Yeah,
where
it's
Group
the biggest.
935
It's the
and their
biggest deal.
experimentation with Element 115 kicks off. That's, of course, World at War, Darius, and while we're not necessarily focusing specifically on the gameplay of the Giant, its revamped story helped kick off BO3, which undoubtedly adds more. It's not just a pillar, it is the pillar of the mode, and it just so happens that
true.
the gameplay is some of the most enjoyable out there.
Yeah, it deserves to be up
These
there.
final 8 maps are...
Ooh, 9. I agree. Listen, people been hating 9 recently, bro. I've been seeing 9 hate on the timeline recently. I like 9.
Masterclass experiences.
9's
like the other
sick.
grades are well-rounded.
9
fun,
is sick,
no major
man.
weakness, and instead of being on the simpler side, have the added benefit of being more
Like, chat, when I think of BO4 launch being good, I just think of this map.
complex,
You know?
more expansive. Number 8 goes
9 is
to
lit.
BO4's 9, a chaos map that, like Voyage of Despair, Dead
I
of the
think
Night,
Darius
ran out
probably
alone,
should have been
took a big
above
swing,
this.
but instead
But I don't
made
know.
an
9 is just
enjoyable
so
high-end
sick, though.
experience.
I
9
don't know,
breaks the
maybe not.
norm of one consistent theme and somehow successfully blends several predicated around the
9
Egyptian
is
god Ra,
sick.
Celtic goddess Danu, Greek god Zeus, and of course, Norse god.
It makes me sad that we will never have such a unique, cool layout that 9 brought us. I don't think we'll
Odin,
ever have a map
within
like
an
this ever
overarching
again.
Roman Colosseum.
I just don't
You'd
think so.
think that essentially dividing the map into 4 separate quadrants would cause a clunky layout, which actually couldn't be further from the truth. It meshes together beautifully. The spacing is fantastic, and each respective atmosphere is breathtaking and super refreshing, jumping from one to the other. While doing so, you summon the champion, fight them to the death, behead them, drag their skull downstairs, impale it, and voila, pack a punch. How badass. And there's also something just so cool about fighting in front of thousands
Bro, one in the chat if you remember the trailers for 9. Bro, the trailers for 9, like Mad Hatter, oh, they were nasty.
people.
They were
beyond
so
just zombies,
good, bro.
axe throwers, blade swingers.
They were
tigers,
so
and
good.
being
This map had
rewarded
some
for
great
victory. And the fact that this
trailers.
is all really just one bad acid trip. Pretty interesting, not gonna lie. I like the Easter egg. The only minor complaint I have with this map is the wonder weapon. The Death of Orion is cool.
It's cool, but it should be way more powerful. I agree.
Not very good. Regardless, 9 is
I agree.
fantastic.
It
quickly
should have been
became
way
the
more
fan
powerful.
favorite, and it's one of the few BO4 maps I would go out of my way to play. Right above that, at number 7, we have the other Chaos Banger.
I mean, I agree. Ancient Evil is one of the best maps ever made. It's true.
Ancient Evil. Unfortunately,
W
it was
map.
at this point in the DLC season that a lot of people had given up on BO4, which
Yeah, and they
sucks
missed
because
Ancient
I believe
Evil,
it's the best
which is
in the game.
rough.
Another
That's so
thematically
true.
stunning atmosphere taking place in the ancient lost city of Delphi, Greece, battling some of its fiercest mythological creatures.
Bro, I haven't played Ancient Evil in a minute. I need to play this map again.
Majestic
I am-
Pegasus by their
just
side.
watching
The
this
crew
makes me
fight
want
their
to play
way
the
through
map.
Perseus and his undead army, only to stumble upon Medusa in an epic, sexy finale. It's cut from the same cloth as 9, but what gives it the clear edge of 4 elemental gauntlets revolved around the gods of Charon,
Sexy
Ouranos,
zombies?
Gaia, and Hemera. They provide so much firepower, so much fun, and so much replayability value, which, spoiler alert, is one of the key elements of some of the best maps ever. Ancient Evil is a gem. It's underrated. I wish more
It's a
people
W map.
appreciated its greatness.
I
Number
truly
6
agree.
goes to...
Zetsubo in the top 6? Oh, bro, we got a Zetsubo lover up in here. I don't know about putting Zetsubo this high. Listen, I think it's a good map. It's definitely, we gotta agree, it's not a bad map. This is not a bad map. Chaos put this as like, is one of his worst maps ever. No, it's not a bad map. This is a good map.
Zetsubo Nishima.
What,
BO3
6?
mastered the
Sheesh.
formula. These maps check every single box, paired with the absolute...
I won't lie though, chat. I do have to agree with Zetsubo being this high in terms of the side Easter eggs. I think Zetsubo is one of the best maps for side Easter eggs ever. Outside of that, though, I don't know.
Heek of the story. These maps are stepping stones predicated around each respective premise character towards the ultimate goal of defeating the Apothicans and restoring order in the universe. This phase of the mission has our crew on a Pacific island.
I did not expect him to put Zetsubo this high.
tangling Division 9.
I did not expect him to do this. I thought he was a Zetsubo hater.
Life centered around
ZNS hate is over, apparently.
Takio, breeding a lush
there is a lot to do
horrifying
on this map.
environment. A Masterclass Zombies map perfects more than just atmosphere and storytelling. However, it perfects gameplay and overall design.
Want to chat if you remember when this map released and everybody hated it, including me. I still think it's bad in some aspects. I just don't think it should be this high.
These maps are typically quite large, but balanced and flow.
It was super
seamlessly.
glitchy
They
at
also
launch,
have
too.
high-end resources that are, more often than not, quest-oriented, giving you lots to do, and subsequently, lots of firepower.
Yeah.
The KT-4 and Skull of Non-Sapwa make a
I think this map is just not a good casual map.
formidable duo
That's really what it
against
is.
the island's monstrosities.
It's great
giant
hardcore
spiders,
map, but terrible casual
giant spider and thrashers, which are sometimes, admittedly, annoying.
And thrashers
but
are
fitting
horrible.
And unique
Worst
nonetheless.
boss on
Even more
BO3.
riveting is the new planting system. Watering seeds with different combinations of
love
colors result in a
planting.
wide range of possibilities, be it handouts like guns, power-ups, and perks, or plants that manipulate zombies in several ways. Upon release, this map was poorly received, but it aged like the finest of wine. Over time,
It did have a great glow up. I can't even lie. Like, comparatively to a lot of BO4 maps, yeah, this has
it became
aged
clear
well.
that it
I
deserved a
agree.
place amongst the greats. Don't get me wrong, it is not for the weak-willed, for the faint-hearted.
True.
Setting up on this map absolutely can be overwhelming, but
Yeah, and you
once
need to
get
know
over that hump,
Gobblegum
once
well.
it becomes routine, Zetsubo no Shima
Yeah, the
offers
Skull of
some the best gameplay
Non-Sopway,
out there.
chat,
We are
can I
not-
be honest? The Skull of Non-Sopway is, I think, the best specialist weapon. Even better than GK's Gauntlet. Because the Gauntlet can be... The Skull is just freaking sick, man. Nothing
top
beats
five,
a Skull.
boys, and that 5th spot is going to go to Gorod Crovey.
My
Who
boy!
heads to war-torn,
Number one best map.
zombie-infested
Should've been
Stalingrad
higher.
to battle fire-breathing
love
dragons
GK.
and procure a drunken
He's putting
Nikolai from
SOE
his
number
mech
one,
suit.
chat. What do you
Gorod
guys think?
Crovey is
He's putting
somewhat of a
SOE up here.
hybrid. It meets the qualifications of a masterpiece, no doubt, but it also, in lots of ways, represents old-school zombies, from the wonder weapon being in the mystery box to the...
Fun fact, did you guys know that the map layout on GK is actually Derice? One in the chat if you knew that, two in the chat if you didn't. This map's layout is Derice. Think about it. Instead of having the pack punch at spawn like Derice does, you take the pack punch and you put it outside of the map. And they are literally the exact same map layout. Think about it.
The classic
You'll
link up the
understand.
pack-a-punch
You'll understand.
to the World War II setting.
understand.
It's basically an advanced ascension with dragons instead of lunar landers. And the dragon theme is outstanding.
Or
Beyond
Ascension.
their mere presence, the
Yeah,
dragon
it's similar to
strike,
Ascension.
shield, and specialist are badass. It's balls to the walls, man. Cranking motorhead, slurping vodka, running and gunning through fire. Until you get the ray gun Mark III, in which case you are now camping. Especially since those nutty
You are
dragons
now
breathing
camping.
fire
True.
everywhere. Those Valkyrie drones are going to camp behind you and shock you in the butthole. Which I would say makes high rounding a little one-dimensional, but at least it's not an absolute necessity in the Mark.
I mean, it's not one-dimensional because the Mark III stops taking out at round 50. And after round 50, you're just running around in the basement shield area.
Is fun to use. You get the highly detailed, complete experience here, like that of a Zetsubo, but get to the fun much quicker.
True, true.
Number 4 marks the elite
Oh,
of the elite,
Shadow's number 4. Okay, then what's number 1, boys?
and it belongs to Shadows of Evil.
Dang.
Absolutely jaw-dropping and ballsy. It kicks off BO3
I
with an
agree.
entirely
Shadows
new
is the
cast
top
of
5 zombies
characters
map. Easily.
and is driven by
Easily.
Apothecin lore, which, understandably, especially at launch, was off-putting to many. After the long gap in between BO2
Off-putting
and
to
3, we were
many,
not
yeah.
greeted with premise. Rather, the Shadow Man, who dupes these 4 morally corrupt sinners into grabbing the summoning key by traveling to the districts of each respective character within his...
Shadows is not only one of the prettiest zombies maps ever, but it is one of the most ornate zombie maps ever. Like, there's so many little details in this map.
Glamorous,
It is insane,
yet
bro.
dark city.
Like, just
It's
look
through
at
this
every
process
single
that we
gameplay
explore their
shot.
backgrounds and
You
every
know?
square inch of the most highly detailed
So
map ever.
detailed.
Where underneath, we're led to
Yes.
pack a punch in what feels like the fiery pits of hell, perhaps a metaphor for their crimes. And it didn't take long for us to get comfortable with the tentacles we were initially so weary of. It turns out Beast Mode is exactly like Afterlife. It turns out the
But
Apothecary
better.
Servant is one
Beast
of the best
Mode's
wonder
better.
weapons ever. And the Margwa?
Yep.
One of the best bosses ever. Other innovations include the Apothecon Sword,
was
Lilarni's,
Fortnite.
Civil Protector,
It was an
Widow's
event, man.
Wine, and so
You should've
much
been
more.
there.
This map is amongst the most ambitious, and I think what's most impressive is it made us care about a group of nobodies. A subplot. Lots.
Let me just explain this. Chat, Zombies was best when they did one-off stories like Shadows of Evil and Mob of the Dead. Screw having a new game where you have to have an overarching DLC with a cast of characters like Chaos across multiple maps. Just make more maps like Shadows and Mob. If the characters are good enough, we'll love them in one Zombies map. And Shadows of Evil and Mob of the Dead is the testament to that, bro.
Lots of maps have taken big swings and struck out.
So
Shadows of Evil is a grand
you don't have
slam,
to do
an excellent
4
start
characters
to
throughout a
the
whole game.
best zombie
Just
game.
make good
Just
maps.
above that, at number 3, we have Mob of the Dead. I'm getting excited just talking about it. It was basically Shadows of Evil before Shadows of Evil. Same era, same vibe. Hell,
Same
I'm all but
dimension.
certain these people knew each other. After all, the mob was probably from Chicago. I meant Morgue City. We follow 4 mobsters who, in direct parallel with real life, plot an escape from Alcatraz Island, having stashed away several makeshift plane components throughout the prison to then craft
So it's DE or Origins number 1. My guess is DE.
on the rooftop. When the plane doesn't work, Sal, Finn, and Billy murder Al, the Weasel, in fear of betrayal, which promptly sends them to the electric chair to be executed. However, their souls are unable to move on, making what was already hell on Earth far more literal with a zombie outbreak. They're doomed to repeat the
Mob is B tier at best, Kingman says. Kingman, where do you rank Blood of the Dead?
same night for eternity until the Weasel oppositely
question.
kills them, thus breaking the cycle, which is a microcosm for the entire premise story to follow. Even more impressive than the storytelling is how well it meshes with the gameplay, powering everything up in Afterlife, feeding the hounds for the Hell's Retriever, and of course fighting through the hordes, collecting the parts, building the plane, escaping only to crash into the Golden Gate Bridge, where Pack-a-Punch and an electric chair wait, sending you back to the island in Afterlife. Rinse and repeat. Unlike some other maps based on real locations, Mob of the Dead transitions beautifully to the mode with great spacing, a seamless flow, and a truly hellish, gut-wrenching atmosphere. It's one of the most unique and innovative maps ever, highlighted by the first wonder weapon with multiple different upgrades. You can Pack-a-Punch the Blunder Gat for the sweeper, use the Acid Gat
Kingman thinks Blood of the Dead is better than Mob. I don't even want to hear it.
kit, or both.
I don't even want to hear it.
Withering. Mob of the Dead is the first of its kind. It cracked the code, it's phenomenal in every way, and frankly saved the mode from its imminent spiraling downfall after BO2's disgraceful launch. Number 2, the silver medal.
The gold medals to DE. I was right. Honestly, fair. I think DE for a lot of YouTubers was always going to be number 1. It's just simplified Origins. That's what DE is.
Which took the formula Mob of the Dead laid out to an even higher level. These maps are clear outliers in BO2, given they shook up the dev team and shifted their attention away from the largely uninteresting Victus story and rebooted the OG Ultimate Screen.
One of the chat, if you remember watching this original Origins trailer for the first time when it first dropped, bro, that was unlike any other trailer I think I've ever seen in Zombies. The impact that trailer had on the freaking internet was insane, bro. Seeing them all meet up like that after we were fed Victus for freaking the whole year, bro.
Dubbed premise. In this timeline, Group 935 unearths Element 115 much earlier, in the battlefields of the Great War, only to accidentally resurrect soldiers from a previous
2 German scientists.
Great War. A zombie outbreak ensues, other countries are wondering what the fuck is going on and send their best soldiers to investigate. America's Tank Dempsey, Russia's Nikolai Belensky, and Japan's Takeo Masaki fight their way through the trenches and find none other than the mad German scientist himself, Dr. Edward Richtofen. This younger, sexier version of our crew pick up where Maxis left off, gathering the gateway keys, in other words staves, to free his daughter Samantha, in other words annoying bitch who won't shut up the entire game, from Agartha.
Unironically true.
In other words, the house, which despite the confusing cliffhanger, is great storytelling. The staves were also the first of their kind, revolving around the elements of ice, lightning, fire, and wind, providing firepower and replayability the likes of which we had never seen. You now have the opportunity to try 4 wonder weapons in the same game, offering several different strategies and experiences, thus incentive to replay. Though building and upgrading the staves is an extremely tall task, it's ultimately worth it. The staves are extremely good. And frankly, without them, you're going to struggle to take out the Panzer.
Can I say this was the first campaign zombies map? One in the chat if you understand what I say when I say that. Like, it's like a campaign map. Like, there's things you got to do in the mission. You know?
That too.
This was because Jason Mundell was originally part of the campaign team. And that's how you can tell when zombies started becoming more mission orientated, when there was like objectives.
He is a perfect boss for this magnitude
but
of
he
map.
still
With
kept
such
it
powerful
so
wonder weapons, you need a
zombies-like as
powerful
well.
boss to balance things out. He is not to be taken lightly. He is no fucking joke, especially early in the game. He places so much urgency on being efficient and getting your shit together quickly. You better be ready. Origins, like all great maps, innovated a ton. So much so that rattling off
like
every
too
little
much.
thing would take forever.
Yeah.
The highlight is hands down the Wonder Fizz machine, though, which is essentially the mystery box, but for perks. The atmosphere also gets
Fizz
an
is pretty
A+.
sick.
Fighting the undead in the trenches of World War I with giant robots and planes soaring above, absolute chaos ensuing, makes for
Chat, can you believe this map is 10 years old?
one of, if
Mind-blowing.
not the most immersive experiences.
I remember being on a call with Pat, the Smith Plays, before this map came out for 12 hours. And to think that that was 10 years ago is insane.
Ever. Origins,
That is
especially given the
insane,
engine
bro.
limitations, achieved
Wow.
the unimaginable. It's the best of the best, and then some. Going forward, it is the gold standard.
It really is, man. It is insane. Also, chat, it's been 10 years and nothing has beaten Origins. Nothing. Like, okay, maybe DE, but then it's like, okay, DE is also getting older now. DE is almost 8 years old, bro. So what is going to be Der Eisendrache, bro? Is anything, chat, genuine question, is anything on COD 2024 going to be Der Eisendrache?
That is until February 2nd, 2016, when it was topped. The single greatest zombies map of all time. Number one,
DE.
Der Eisendrache. My
Lol,
case is very
mega,
simple.
lol.
It's everything that Origins is, minus the headache.
That's
No,
what I'm
really,
saying.
It's
It's
strikingly
Origins
similar
simplified.
to Origins. They're both Group 935 facilities in cold, harsh environments with premise, and Der Eisendrache also has 4 elemental wonder weapons, the Panzer, Wonder Fizz, and so on. They're cut from the exact same cloth, but what makes Der Eisendrache the more enjoyable experience is making what should be simpler.
Chat, what do you guys prefer, Origins or DE? Personally, I've played DE too much that I think I would play more Origins, but man, I played Origins too much too, so
Simpler.
Frank,
Power
I don't know,
is
bro.
one convenient switch.
I
Whereas
don't know.
generators on Origins deactivate
They're
one
neck
by
and
one
neck,
until you
man.
run all the way across the map to stop it, subsequently turning off everything in the area and Pack-a-Punch, which under Eisendrache is a click of 2 buttons. Don't get it twisted, I'm not taking anything away from Origins, but Der Eisendrache does what it does more efficiently. It's less strenuous, less painstaking. I will say
It is
the
true.
story
It just cuts out the fluff, man. That is
of
very
Origins
true.
is more grand. It certainly eclipses Der Eisendrache's role, but that's not to say that Der Eisendrache
Like,
isn't
you could say Der Eisendrache is literally just Origins 2.
excellent in its own
You could
respect.
say- I would
Fighting
say
zombies in
that.
a medieval castle and procuring Dempsey's soul on the way to a giant keeper boss fight to then blow up the moon isn't exactly something to sneeze at. And neither are the bows, which are undoubtedly on the same level as the stabs, and in my opinion are much cooler. Whether you prefer blasting the hordes away with the vengeful spirit of
Staffs or bows, boys.
the Wolf King,
What
melting
are you guys
them
thinking?
down with lava, siphoning them into oblivion, or simply staying put.
I think the bows look cooler, but I think the staffs are better. That's
and
what I think.
systematically electrocuting them. There's a strategy made just for you. I could go on and on and on and on and on about Der Eisendrache, but the bottom line is, it is
The
perfection.
GOAT!
Unlike Origins, which
The
slightly
GOAT!
favors the hardcore player, Der Eisendrache accepts all players and all playstyles. That's all she wrote.
So what I'm getting
That
at is he ranked DE over Origins because it's easier. Well, the thing is it's not necessarily because it's easier. It's just more fun to play. When you take out that fluff, like, bro, I don't want to go and upgrade all the Origin staffs and have to go to the mound 900 times and click all the dials. Oh, is it all yellow? Oh, is it all red for the fire staff? Oh, is it all blue for like... Just give me the bow, man.
is
Let me
it.
pick up
That
the
is my
bow.
stone cold, sober, objective analysis, ranking every Call of Duty Treyarch Zombies map from worst to best. It took
Chat.
forever.
What do you guys think about Timothy Hansen's list? Honestly,
so if you enjoyed, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Again, check
out of 10, chat, I'm gonna give it